It's almost October, and so once again we take a perilous and terrifying journey through the occult and horror sides of our favorite comic book universes. Magic and monsters, ghoulies and ghosties, and long-legged beasties, and things that go bump in the night. Let's have some fun today, and I'll be putting up a few videos this season, hopefully before Spirit Halloween tries to take over the channel. Joking, of course. Our first stop on this danse macabre through the arcane, esoteric realms of mysticism and mayhem is with one who goes by many names, the Black King, son of Mephisto, the Prince of Hell. Let's talk about the vile creature known as Blackheart. Created by Ann Nocenti and John Romita Jr., Blackheart first appeared in 1989's Daredevil issue 270, and it's here that our tale of terror begins. But not in the present day. No. For this story to be told, we must travel back centuries to a sleepy village in the state of New York in 1658. There was a village, a fictional one mind you, named Christ's Crown. And in Christ's Crown, there was a grassy hill where tragedy upon tragedy occurred. Over time, the hill itself became heavy with spilt blood and a dark, negative energy that permeated the very fabric of reality in that evil place. Children, more in tune with the energies at play, avoided the hill, though they didn't know why. Over time, this wicked, corrupted hill began to grow dark, twisted vines that arced and clawed their way to the sky with their sharp, spindly appendages. These vines also grew beautiful red roses, and these roses, a symbol of love, drew young, naive love ever closer. Teenagers, knowing the sordid history of the hill, would dare each other to go into the rose patch where they conducted rituals and seances and where they also embraced each other in love. But, as the hill does, drew these lovers to it not to share its beauty, but to steal more souls, more victims. Like moths to a flame, the roses were a trap. One day, a boy named Peter brought a woman named Sarah to the hill, and Sarah rejected Peter, but Peter didn't listen and forced himself upon her. And it was in this abominable, depraved act of violence, one involving the most intimate of connections between humans, that the demonic creature named Blackheart was born. A burning black ember pushed its way up through the ground beneath their feet, flung, as the narrator says, from the fires of Hades itself. Blackheart stood there before them. He was dark and sinewy, with muscles twisted like barbed wire, his spiked head framing reddened yet hollow, sunken eyes. His tail curling, as did his blackened phalanges. Blackheart detected that Peter was bad and Sarah good. So what did he do with that information? Well, he offed them both, calling it a sacrifice. And with that, another figure appeared. A red figure with a Motley Crue haircut. Mephisto congratulated his son on his first kill, as unimaginative and crude as it was. Blackheart lashed out at Mephisto, hungry to kill again. But the dad put his son in his place. He promised torments beyond imagination if he ever forgot his place again. That may be some foreshadowing. When the lesson was over, Mephisto molded him a face. A human face so he could walk amongst man undetected. And, because this was a Daredevil book, naturally, he set his sights upon a certain devil of Hell's Kitchen, attorney Matt Murdock, also known as Daredevil. Daredevil, with his heightened senses, felt Blackheart nearby, perceived movement, smelt burning roses, but couldn't detect a heartbeat. Daredevil knew this thing to not be truly alive. Without provocation, Blackheart attacked Daredevil, and the more they fought, the sicker Daredevil got from his presence. As they battled, Spider-Man also swung in and hit Blackheart with a flying sidekick right to the head. Spider-Man had to take over as Daredevil was succumbing to the oppressive darkness that was penetrating his very soul. After a synchronized face punch, Blackheart retreated, disappearing in a dramatic burst of smoke and flame. But he didn't go far. As an audience gathered to witness the battle, Blackheart, now looking a little more human than before, joined the crowd. Still looking like a crackhead scarecrow to us, the readers, but he was undetectable by those around him, save for a fleeting indication at the edge of Daredevil's mind that this onlooker just might be more than he seemed. At the end of the issue, Blackheart returned to the hill in Christ's Crown, his birthplace, in despair. He didn't want life, not this way anyway. He thought he didn't want to live simply to suffer and die. He just wanted to be left alone, so he enveloped himself in the briars, hoping Mephisto would forget about him and he could just lay there to rest in peace in perpetuity. He did reappear 8 issues later for a story the cover declared Heart of Darkness. This issue had a great John Romita Jr. and Al Williamson cover of Daredevil fighting Blackheart for round 2. And the story was called The Deadly Seven. From last issue to now, Blackheart did indeed find his way back to his father in Hades. Mephisto demonstrated his complete control over the Netherrealm by immolating a group of tortured souls, citing a dull fate. Mephisto wanted to teach Blackheart the other end of the spectrum, the, as he called it, high art of evil. Instead of uninspired punishments, he wanted to make good men betray themselves and their beliefs, to give in to the 7 deadly sins, hence the name of the issue. They were to sow the seeds of ruination and bring down the best of men. men. His first task was to find good men and women and push them toward corruption. It's apparent this test would come to Daredevil. In fact, Mephisto told him if he succeeded in corrupting mortals that he was to ruin a superhero, and Mephisto had already picked out Murdoch for that prize. Speaking of him, at the same time, topside, Daredevil was hanging out with some Inhumans at a ranch in upstate New York, which is owned by Skip Ash, father to Brandy Ash. Blackheart returned to Earth once more, now hidden beneath an unassuming visage. Also, conveniently, near a group of upstate heroes. Daredevil and Brandy drove a pickup truck back south to return to the city, and on the way came across her Jeep Wrangler that Gorgon, Karnak, and this cheerleader named Number 9 were driving. They didn't know it yet, but this was Blackheart's doing. Blackheart's influence affected Gorgon, and he ended up fighting with Karnak. Daredevil again sensed the presence of an evil and figured out it was that average-looking guy, apparently Gorgon and Karnak's hitchhiker. Daredevil and Blackheart fought again, and in the cold and snow. Blackheart left that guy's body, leaving Daredevil to beat him, but he pulled back from the brink just before that became a fatality. Mephisto watched and laughed devilishly at their misfortune as he turned his eye toward his other machinations. The cover art on issue 279 indicates that things are about to get much more dire for our intrepid group of heroes. While Blackheart watched from the shadows, covertly playing with temptation, he also revealed that he was going to usurp Mephisto. Not his words, but that's what he was implying here. That Mephisto was old, his style tired. Evil needed a new drumbeat, a refreshed rhythm, a new beat a Blackheart could provide. Blackheart surprised Mephisto back in Hades, and Mephisto quickly dismissed him. His purpose, Mephisto said, was to do his work and his existence to be a sacrifice, a mere reflection cast in Mephisto's image. It would appear that his arrogance would lead to his downfall. Blackheart later went to his father to say he failed. He wasn't able to incite violence or fear or corrupt the humans, so Mephisto told him, well, obviously, cheat. Do whatever it takes to get those heroes sent down to his realm. So Blackheart cracked the earth to swallow up the humans, but he wasn't supposed to do that to a kid nearby, Ahura Boltagon. Issue 281 found Daredevil in terminal winter and besieged by winged demons. Each of them that were pulled down when the ground opened up were subjected to their own personal hell. The cheerleader, for example, dealt with beauty as her nightmare. Daredevil continued to kill the demons. Endless violence that Mephisto says with every death led Daredevil closer to him. Far away in the vastness of space, Silver Surfer picked up on Mephisto's evil plan and headed to Earth to help. Daredevil was too strong for Mephisto and Blackheart's plot, though. He reasoned to stop fighting, and it worked. And more, Blackheart flew down to give him some tips. He was working against his dad, and he said, when he created me, he created his assassin. Mephisto heard him and called him to his side. They argued, and then Mephisto squished Blackheart in his fist. Nothing but a massive black ooze dripping from Mephisto's red hand. Blackheart reformed and continued to argue, so Mephisto squished him again, this time with a fist against a rock, and he kept reforming and Mephisto kept squishing him. Eventually, Mephisto banished Blackheart back to Earth, and a new fate was chosen. Mephisto said he chose humans and betrayed his father, and so he'd chosen his fate. He was stuck in human form, his powers diminished, and every time he would use them, he'd go a little bit more mad. That's when Silver Surfer surfed in, crackling with the power cosmic, hoping to save Daredevil and his friends. The Surfer stayed behind to fight while Daredevil and all returned to Earth. In 1991's Ghost Rider, Wolverine, Punisher, Hearts of Darkness, Blackheart was back on his unholy hill in the town of Christ's Crown, summoned forth with a sacrifice and the spilling of blood. Blackheart, still depowered by his dad, had the same plan to overthrow Mephisto. He had to play the role he was given, though, corrupter of men, albeit more selective than he let on. Danny Ketch also rumbled into town on his motorcycle and rented a room at the same place that Wolverine and Frank Castle were staying during their hunting trip. Blackheart would try to recruit them to his cause, to no avail. In Marvel UK's 1991 book called Warheads, the Mystech group had deployed their Kether Troop mercenaries, plunderers of space and time, to the Australian outback of 1988 to complete a time loop with the wormholes in the area. They were led to this town, once run by Reavers, by their Psy Scout, Misha. Blackheart would help Misha by being the voice in her head, and he directed her to a mystical sword that could harm Mephisto. In 1993, Simon Williams, aka Wonder Man, ended up at the maw of Mephisto. He stormed the very gates of hell to get to his love, Alex Flores, and rescue her from the nightmare that Mephisto was subjecting her to. Mephisto forced Simon to wear the necklace of service, and if he didn't, he would burn Alex alive. As he handed it over, he was hit with an energy blast, and that's when Blackheart and his new co-conspirator, Simon's brother Eric, aka Grim Reaper, revealed themselves. Now Wonder Man was forced to fight both of them. Back at Avengers Mansion, Blackheart and Grim Reaper, along with some monks that were his parents, took Wonder Man away to serve the legions of the night. Wonder Man was now one of Blackheart's demons when he unleashed his power in an attack on Mephisto's demons. Simon again ended up in front of Mephisto, while Blackheart and the monks waited impatiently for him. So instead of waiting, they assaulted Hades, so Mephisto had a demonic Simon attack them. Simon said he would help Blackheart if he returned Alex's life to her. The Masters of Evil fought, and then Hela showed up and joined the fray with her legions, all while Blackheart and Mephisto traded blows. Our heroes won that day and returned to Earth renewed. In '94, Ghost Rider, Wolverine, Punisher, and Blackheart collided again in Howard Mackie and Ron Garney's The Dark Design story. Blackheart was now holed up in Christ's crown, and from his throne he reigned over the area. He was aided by a group of foot soldiers like Vanna and Hank called the Corrupt. They were corrupted and strengthened by Blackheart's evil, but Ghost Rider prevailed, as did Wolverine, while the Punisher sniped the Corrupt from a rooftop outlook. These three were a threat to Blackheart. They walked the line between good and evil, and thus were unpredictable. They had to save a girl named Lucy while fending off War of the Corrupt, but the Corrupt managed to steal Lucy away and brought her right to Blackheart's chamber. He believed that she was destined to be his anchor to reality, destined to rule together side by side when Blackheart finally took down his dad. Together they beat back the darkness, saved Lucy, and defeated Blackheart. Blackheart wept at Mephisto's feet for losing Lucy, but he would not submit. Their power struggle would continue. That is, until Blackheart plunged a blade, wet with innocent blood, deep into Mephisto's body, and he perished, leaving Blackheart as the new king of hell. In 1995's Ghost Rider Crossroads, Blackheart resurrected Scarecrow and had him attack Ghost Rider. This is also when Ghost Rider, the Johnny Blaze version, confronted Blackheart. Blackheart told Blaze that he'd killed his father, and he was looking to expand to Earth, with help from Zarathos. He did Blackheart's bidding, and as a prize was allowed to return one being to life. So instead of his sister or anyone else, Johnny Blaze chose to bring back the spirit of vengeance. We next find Blackheart in Ghost Rider issue 77, surveying his dark dominion from his throne, and it was from here that he created his own spirits of vengeance. First was Roxanne Simpson, who was resurrected as Black Rose. He took her back to his dimension to join him on his throne, and this is when the Furies came in for help. They wanted human bodies to breach the earthly realm, and they also wanted his help destroying Ghost Rider. So Blackheart had Black Rose assist the Furies, but they were defeated and weakened, and so Blackheart himself had to confront Johnny Blaze. In Hell's Flesh Corridor, Blackheart expressed his dismay with Scarecrow's failure to possess Ketch's body and ruin the bloodline, so he had Black Rose torture Scarecrow for an eternity. He needed new help. So he set about building his own spirits of vengeance to make moves against the Noble Kale version of Ghost Rider. Ghost Rider 87 found Max Pressman, aka Wallow, becoming a spirit of vengeance in the employ of Blackheart. The next issue found Leah Go, aka Pao Fu, the goddess of vengeance, joining the cause. And in issue 89, Blackheart made Verminous Rex and Francisco Fuentes, aka Doghead, into spirits of vengeance. By this time, he was also holding Noble Kale's body in his realm in a bid to offer it back, all part of his plot to control all the realms of light and dark. Blackheart sent his team out to attack Ghost Rider, and it was Pao Fu who ripped Ghost Rider's heart right out of his chest and sent him down to Blackheart's realm. Blackheart offered to return him if he'd work for him, but Kale spit in disgust, so Blackheart rescinded the offer for a moment. He asked him, though, to lead his team into his new underworld paradigm and take the goddess of vengeance as his wife. He'd even get his body back and his bloodline released from the curse, and this was all to create a realm of his own design, to have the cachet of his name eclipse that of Mephisto. Kale said yes, but he also wanted Black Rose on his team. And with that, his heart was returned to him and the deal was sealed. Too good to be true? Well, it is. With Kale back in his body, he had a glaring weakness. Blackheart tasked Black Rose with stabbing Kale on their wedding night at Castle Blackheart with a dagger made from Zarathos' ribcage, but it all fell apart and Ghost Rider seemingly destroyed Blackheart in a massive energy blast. In X-Force issue 74, Blackheart was working with Strife when Proudstar died and went to hell. X-Force came to save him, and afterward Blackheart banished Strife to a burning lake of fire. Blackheart then allied himself with Selene and became the Black King of the Hellfire Club, bringing him into a battle with the Fantastic Four and their arcane allies. They ended up defeating him and bound him to the Hellfire Club, and from there he tried to corrupt Sunspot while also trying to free himself from bondage. Nearly a decade later, when magic took over Limbo from Belasco, the Helllords, which were Mephisto, Dormammu, Satanish, Hela, and Blackheart, conspired with Belasco's daughter Witchfire to stop her. Later, Megan found herself also in Hades and traded freedom for information about one of their dukes. And around the same time, a cult initiated the Blackheart Project and gave birth to Anton Suton, Kid Blackheart. The kid led his evil forces and stormed the gates of heaven, but were beat back by an army of Ghost Riders. He eventually met up with people like Blackout and Master Pandemonium to continue his scheming elsewhere. Then, during a story arc called Circle of Four, Blackheart opened a portal to hell in Las Vegas, Nevada. It took Venom, X-23, Ghost Rider, and Red Hulk working together to foil that plot. And then, when Deadpool and Thanos went to Mephisto in their quest to find their love, the personification of death, Blackheart appeared, but he got punched out by Thanos. Blackheart snuck into Hell by secretly possessing Black Talon. In Miles Morales' Spider-Man series in 2016, he first encountered Blackheart after he'd defeated the Avengers and laid claim to the entire dimension. He battled the Prince of Hell, wielding Falcon Cap's shield, and retreated just as Parker Spider-Man showed up, with Spidey thinking Miles had taken out the Avengers team first, which obviously was not the case. Then Blackheart attacked again, now fighting both Spider-Men. They managed together to defeat the Beast. He then showed up in Falcon's book, still plotting to take over Earth by pitting man against themselves. He was now pretending to be Chicago's mayor while working with a gang leader named Dre. He fought Falcon, ripped his soul away, and sent him to hell. In another fight, Dre sacrificed himself to send Blackheart to hell and foil his plot. Blackheart was tied up by his father and plotted against Miles Morales and the Champions team. He'd helped save the team, but also used the opportunity to plant seeds of doubt that he could exploit later on. He used Ironheart to attack the Champions when they were staying at Viv's house, then influenced Sam Alexander, Nova, to attack Viv, and eventually corrupted. They all turned on each other, but their love for each other overcame Blackheart's control, and they defeated him together as champions. Later, Lilith, Mother of Demons, was letting demons escape from hell, now controlled by Johnny Blaze. Blackheart appeared before a bartender named Emma and possessed her. She knew where Danny Ketch was hiding, and Ketch, by the way, was now possessed by the spirit of corruption. Ketch was with Wolverine, Caretaker, and the Punisher. He then used the bodies of people close to Danny to force Ketch to align with him. That was stalled though when Null, the King in Black, descended upon Earth with his symbiote dragons. Mephisto and Blackheart did make it home, usurped Lilith, and even secretly brought their own caged symbiote with them. In 2022, Blackheart and his minions came to collect the soul of Patsy Walker, Hellcat, but she fought back with help from Iron Man. That same year, Blackheart captured Blaze, who was participating in the Hell's Backbone rally, for a chance at an audience with the devil himself. Blackheart called his minions to the town, now in control of Ghost Rider's shadow, a creature named Exhaust. And it was Zebediah and his murder of crows that sent Blackheart back below. Later, Blackheart appeared to Sleepwalker at a lighthouse as he worked to counter Hellcat, whom he was investigating over her boyfriend Spaulding's murder. Turns out Spaulding had been working with Blackheart, who practiced the occult, building something called the Exile Gate. But he betrayed the Prince of Hell, as he was also secretly working with Damon Hellstrom. Patsy helped him, but she was dragged down to Hell and gained new powers. Blackheart was also working with Kraven the Hunter and a scientist named Myron Darkwater to build a new portal machine. A bunch of anthropomorphic animals like D-Dog, Lucky, Throg, and Redwing teamed up to stop him and save Lockjaw. Lockjaw teleported into Black Bolt, and Black Bolt destroyed Blackheart with his voice, for now. And with that, that's a wrap on this, my friends. I'm Jesse, this is JLS Comics, and I'll see you soon.